This episode of Access to the Arts is being made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.
I mean, we couldn't do what we do without First Bank and how supportive they have been throughout the years.
I've had a very good experience working with First Bank. They have been there really with all kinds of different things that I do in my life.
We consider First Bank Richmond a good friend. They're there to help us sponsor our signature events. You always are out there to help each other out.
Besides the business part of it, we just get along really well. And it's beyond a working relationship.
Hi, welcome to Access to the Arts. I'm Dave Paxton. Thank you for joining us. Very happy to be joined for this show by somebody from the Shakespeare Festival. I have been wanting to talk to you for a while. Ray Onko's been dodging me for a while. That's what I think is happening. But yeah. Patrick Flick, you are the producing artistic director of Richmond Shakespeare Festival. Mm-hmm. What is a producing artistic director? What's that entail for you?
A lot of it entails cleaning bathrooms and emptying trash cans.
Nice. So you really do produce.
You really do produce, but okay. Pretty much I'm the sole employee of Richmond Shakespeare Festival. We are a summer festival only, and we tend to run 3 to 4 weeks. And the planning, and we are a union theater, we're an equity theater. We use equity actors, Actors Equity Association, non-union actors, local talent. We bring talent in we've brought people in from as far away as New York City. And we also depend on some student interns that we bring from local colleges. That includes Earlham, Miami University over in Oxford. We've brought people in from Ball State, from IU. So we try to provide opportunities for as many young people too as we can. The planning for Richmond Shakespeare Festival starts at least a year in advance when we have to decide what our season is. We like to be able to announce what our next season is going to be while the current season is still running. Mm-hmm. And then hiring begins, as soon as, the summer that we're ahead,
Well, and let's talk about that process a little bit, just because last year, guess what? Everything got tossed out. Right. Pandemic shut everything down. Mm-hmm. And obviously, in terms of what you were, your mission, and that is producing locally works of Shakespeare, but using actors and putting those productions together yourself, mm-hmm. you couldn't do that. So you lost last year, and then what were you looking at as you headed into this summer? Fingers crossed that you were going to be able to put shows on.
Well, we made a decision in March that we were not going to be able to produce this summer either, because it just wasn't apparent yet what the efficacy of the vaccines would be, whether there would be variants, which obviously we know that now that there are. Part of the problem is we bring in most of our actors and we house them together. We've used Earlham College's dorms in the past. And Earlham wasn't allowing what they call summer camps this summer, which was what we would be considered a part of as they housed us. So we knew that wasn't going to happen. We looked around for some alternative housing. We found some, but then we just decided it was going to be too risky to try to produce this summer, especially bringing all these people in together. And the Actors Equity Association rules for producing right now still are quite strict in terms of distancing, whether or not people are vaccinated, and HVAC, believe it or not, is a very big concern with the actors union in terms of whether our housing and our facilities and rehearsal space meets those requirements.
Handles the air the way that it needs to be. Okay, so you realize that this is not, you're not going to be able to run business as usual.
No.
So the decision comes down to, you give up again, or what you've done, and that is this whole season is you're bringing in company productions from all around the country, all around the world. I mean, what are we looking at?
Not from all around the world, but definitely all around the country. The next, we've already brought in May, we brought in Kentucky Shakespeare, and they did a production. Oh shoot, what was that production? They all blend into my head, you know. But Kentucky Shakespeare, they did a Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
And they came up from Louisville, and those folks are down there, friends of mine, and you know, we pay them, but we present these tours for free. And then the next one coming up is Much Ado About Nothing on Thursday the 29th. That'll be at 8 o'clock. Down in the old Star Jeanette Piano and Recording Factory in the Whitewater Park Gorge. And that starts at 8. I don't know if I remember if I said that. And it's free. And this group is, they're from back east actually, but during this summer, a lot of the company members are from Indianapolis. So it just so happens they decided to relocate temporarily, I think, to Indianapolis and tour out of there. So they're touring the state of Indiana and probably some of the surrounding states as well with Much Ado About Nothing. And then in August, Cincinnati Shakespeare's touring company is going to come up. That's August 20th. That's at 6 and over in Elstro Plaza. And they are doing, oh shoot, what is that one? Macbeth.
That's one you want to,
Yeah. They're doing
We're
Macbeth.
not in trouble by you actually saying it.
It's not a theater,
it's
so
not
I can
a theater.
say
We're in a studio.
If it was
We're
a theater, I would say Mackers.
You had, okay.
Yeah. Or the Scottish
play.
Or
okay,
the
you had me scared
play.
there for just a second.
No, we're good. We're all good.
Okay.
There'll be food trucks starting at 6, and the show starts at 7. And then there's one more. There's another event that is surrounding the Much Ado About Nothing, and that's at the Morrisson-Reeves Library on the Tuesday the 27th at 6. And if you want to attend any of these events, go to our website, which is richmondshakes.org, and you can register for the events. They all require registration, and seating is quite limited for the Much Ado About Nothing educational session at Morrisson-Reeves.
So the pre-registration for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that goes at 6 o'clock on Tuesday the 27th. Okay.
Correct.
And they mentioned it's interactive. What is there?
I don't know. They're planning it. It's another company. I mean, our strategy this summer was to keep Shakespeare in front of the people of Richmond and beyond. And we knew we couldn't produce, but there were companies that were touring, and we decided that was our best bet, was to bring in these tours. And
how did you reach out? Now, before we went on air, you were discussing your involvement also not just with this local organization, but you are part of a larger Shakespeare Festival organization.
Right. Well, I'm the executive director of the Shakespeare Theater Association. You can find out more about us at stahome.org. That's stahome.org. And this organization, STA, basically, our main purpose is to have an annual conference. And obviously we had to go virtual this year as well, but it was attended by about 400 to 500 practitioners of Shakespeare from around the globe. Richmond Shakespeare is a member, and so is Cincinnati Shakespeare, so is Kentucky Shakespeare, and so are 125 other producers from all around the planet.
You mentioned even the Globe.
The Globe in London, Utah Shakespeare, Oregon Shakespeare, Stratford in Canada. Some of the biggest ones in the world are members of the Shakespeare Theater Association.
So it's a nice community, though, in terms of what you were trying to do this season had to help in that it's who you know and can get them in there.
Yeah, we talk, and people say, "Oh, did you know so and so's touring?" And then oh, they're touring and they're in your area, and and it helps if they're within a 150 mile radius, to get people here.
Excellent. And then we were also talking before we went on the air. You've got another show for maybe October?
I do. This is our first fall offering. This is the first time we've offered anything beyond the summer. This is also a tour. It's a one-woman show by my very good friend Deborah Ann Bird, who founded Harlem Shakespeare Festival in New York, and she is currently the artistic director there. And it's a play. It's a study about her life and about playing Othello. So it's actually called Becoming Othello: A Black Girl's Journey. And she does a one-woman presentation of how to become Othello as a black woman.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And so that will be in October. Do we have dates
in October.
yet?
I believe the dates are the 15th and 16th.
Okay.
But that's a Thursday and a Friday, so whatever lines up there in October.
And where will that be?
We're not sure yet where that's going to be. It will need to be indoors, as it'll be October, and we're looking for an appropriate space. And there will be a small fee for that as well.
But that's a very interesting, and it's a nice way to add that third show into your season.
It is, and it was actually directed by a very famous person in the Shakespeare world, Tina Packer, who founded Shakespeare and Company up east. So I'm very excited to have Deborah Ann come here and perform that.
And if they're looking for information on any of the shows that we have talked about, where do they need to go again?
They need to go to our website, which is richmondshakes.org.
Outstanding. Patrick Flick, producing artistic director of Richmond Shakespeare Festival. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much. I love being here.
All right. We'll be back with more on Access to the Arts.
He hath my love, and what is mine, my love shall render him, and she is mine, and all my rights of her I do estate unto Demetrius.
I am, my lord, as well derived as he, as well possessed. My love is more than his, and what's more than all these boasts can be, I am beloved of beauteous Hermia. Why should I not then prosecute my right? Demetrius, I'll avouch it to his head, made love to Nedar's daughter Helena, and won her soul, and she, sweet lady, dotes, devoutly dotes in idolatry upon this spotted and inconstant man.
It's Access to the Arts. I'm Dave Paxton, joined by Monica Koechlein, Executive Director, Richmond Symphony Orchestra. Thank you for joining us, and thank you. I'm going to say thank you right off the bat for not only the work with putting this show back up on the air, but the work that you and your board and really all of the arts programs have had to do this past year in keeping the arts alive in Richmond. It had to have been a challenge.
It was, and I think very early on, my vice president of the symphony board said to me, Monica, nonprofits are going to come out of this ahead or they're going to come out behind. And if they stay still, they're going to come out behind. And I really took that to heart, and I said, we have a mission, we exist in this community for a very specific reason, and we need to figure out how to continue to be relevant as well as resilient during the COVID times. And
we'll talk obviously a little bit about what the public sees and how you've adapted and really kind of found some little nuggets that are so much fun that you're going to continue. But let's talk a little behind the scenes, because again, from a nonprofit standpoint, you're defined by the product that you are able to put out to the public, and when that has to stop dead, fundraising becomes so much more difficult. The grants, the support, all of the other businesses that normally were staunch supporters, they also have their issues that they have to deal with. It had to have been a very trying time, but maybe a challenge that you said, all right, how are we going to address this?
It was tricky. Right, we canceled the fundraising event, and we had most of the sponsorship monies in hand. So it's very relational. You call those sponsors and you ask, do you want us to defer this to next year? And now it's deferred another year. Do you want us to put it to good use and still try to live out our mission, and then have us come back another year and ask for sponsorship when we can do the event? The businesses, I can't say enough about the businesses in this community and how they supported the nonprofits. There are many businesses that were willing to just pay you to sit still And our season sponsors, we did have a few of them. They changed their pillars of giving. They wanted to be responsive to the food crisis and other things. And now we're seeing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and some of our sponsors are more interested in that than what they were interested in. I think it's just relational, and it's celebrating the fact that they're still invested in the community. But the challenge match was one of our biggest to date, and I think that showed that people care that the organization exists and comes out of this situation strong.
Yeah, let's not go too far over that. You just said the challenge match was successful.
Unbelievable.
And that had to have, was it a surprise? Maybe not, because I don't think you can be surprised about the giving that's in the community, but was it a surprise because of the circumstances?
It exceeded our expectations. I mean, we had lost a fundraising event, so we lost a lot of bids at that, a lot of donations during that time, and we lost season tickets for a year, and we saw people make up those gifts during the challenge match because they still wanted to support the organization, and we received a lot of gifts of people saying thank you for the Sunset Series. We love the Sunset Series. And so we very purposefully stayed in contact. Every 6 to 8 weeks we were mailing a newsletter, which we had not been doing in the past. I remember early in COVID, or starting to lose touch with your community, starting to lose touch with your friends, and checking the mail and getting something in the mail felt like a touch with the outside world. And so we were very purposeful in mailing newsletters and being in people's homes every 6 to 8 weeks to keep them up to date with what we were doing.
Yeah, so now let's talk about how the symphony orchestra adapted and still got the music out there. You talk about looking at it from the standpoint where we need to maintain touch with our community, the people who have been with us, and maintaining that communication. But you mentioned the music series that you did last year that was very successful. Talk about how did that come about? I mean, was that just hey, why don't we just set up
It's one of those things we tried, and it just blew our mind at how successful it was. We did it for a few reasons. We did it for relevance. We did it because we exist, nonprofits exist because this community says they're allowed to. So we have a responsibility that I take very seriously. And I knew that, our mission was live music. And so we needed to do that, as well as we had a lot of concern for our musicians who were sitting still and not making money. And so we really wanted to also give the musicians opportunity to financially support themselves. So we did. We started with the Sunset Series. Evelyn Woolard, our personnel manager, and Ginger Gray had a big hand in helping figure out those events. I think we just thought, if we can create an opportunity and people are allowed to create their own experience, they don't have to come in contact with us. They don't have to, they can separate themselves space-wise with what makes them feel comfortable. They can take their time. They can just kind of run through them. We learned a lot about ourselves in that. They were all, believe it or not, kind of anxiety-producing, because at that point in time, when we started them in August, there were safety issues. And we had to say to people, you have to wear masks, you have to maintain your distance. But the goal was to just set up an opportunity for people to come in and just create what made them feel good. And I can't tell you the number of people that night that said, this feels so normal. This is the first thing I've done in public. Thank you for providing this opportunity. And so we've expanded that. And I can't say enough about Three Rivers and Wayne County Foundation, who stepped up big in that series. And I mean big. I met with Three Rivers early on, and I said, I don't know when we're going to be able to get back to stage, but we want it. And they said, here's some money, take some risks, try some things out that work, decide if you fail, and it ended up being a huge success, and they're staying with us again. Talking with Monica
Koechlein, Executive Director of Richmond Symphony Orchestra. Let's talk about the planning for the season ahead. Are we planning for a season ahead?
We have
Are we excited about
dates. That? Oh my gosh, we have 6 dates. We're still asking season ticket holders to be patient. There's one sense of, let's just go back to normal, tell people what we're doing in the hall, and if they're comfortable, they'll come and join us. But there's also this feeling of, we don't want to just leave people behind. And we don't want to make people feel unsafe and uncomfortable. So we're still just trying to figure it out. We think we'll probably seat 50% of the hall There was discussion at one time about trying to run 2 concerts in one night, but that's really hard on the musicians. So we think we're probably going to seat about 50% of the hall, and we'll start on September 22nd. I know that Conductor Bordeaux has a wonderful lineup. In fact, he took the season that he had planned for 21-22 and is now moving it to 2021.
Okay.
And is now moving it to 21-22. So we'll see some phenomenal guest artists. We'll see a return of Andres Cardenas and Andres Diaz. We hope that Mark Kosmala, our principal cellist who's moving to New York City, will be able to come back and join us. As well as we'll have a commissioned work by Alyssa Morris. And it'll be quite a season. I will mention, and I think most people have heard, that Conductor Bordeaux has announced that his 25th season will be his final season with us on the stage.
I was going to mention that because I'd heard
yeah.
a little bit. So it's going to make for an exciting season.
It is,
but also kind of sad. It is.
I think when he told the officers and he told me at the same time, I think there was this feeling of shock, but also tremendous excitement for him and happiness for him that someone has the opportunity to live the mission that they want to live as long as they want to live it and step away when the organization is so strong. I think some of that decision making, he's got a couple of years left on his contract at University of Akron, and so that's weighing heavily. It's a big celebration year for him of 25 years. And I also think, as he mentioned, he's built the orchestra that he loves. And now a lot of his players are talking about retirement. And he said, I don't want to build another orchestra.
Right.
I have the orchestra right now. That is what I worked 25 years to have.
Right.
And there's great respect for that. And it'll be a very long process. I've not been through a search process before for a conductor. But my understanding is, the board will appoint a search committee. And that search committee will begin to develop the profile of who we have been, who we want to be, who we're looking for to help us get there. And they'll do a year of interviews while we're saying goodbye to Conductor Bordeaux, and they'll narrow it down to 4, 5, or 6 finalists. And in the 22-23 season, we will have all of them as guest conductors on the stage.
Interesting. Okay.
And they'll be given
my interest.
they'll be given a budget, the same budget for each of them.
Yeah.
So they could choose to put quite a bit of money into a guest artist. They could choose to not have a guest artist and have a bigger orchestra. They could choose to pay for music or use public domain that doesn't cost them anything, but they all get the same budget. And then, we'll have our audience have input. We'll have, key people in the community have input. We'll have the staff and the musicians have some input. And we'll be ready to name our 4th conductor in 66 years. On the stage, we'll be ready to name our 4th conductor on July 1st of 2023.
So for people who want information and to start planning for those tickets and to get involved, where do they need to go?
All the information is on our website at richmondsymphony.org. And again, we're mailing newsletters every 6 to 8 weeks, as well as sending
Is that how they can get
emails.
on that
All
newsletter
they have to
chain?
do is email me and let me know. I think we have a link directly on the website. So, and the other thing I will say is we want to be available. We love to hear from people. It's been a year of being quiet. So they're welcome to call us in the office anytime that they like at 966-5181.
Monica Koechlein, Richmond Symphony Orchestra. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more in just a bit.
This episode of Access to the Arts is being made possible through the support of First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.